Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Life Forces podcast. I guess this is kind of season 3 based on when I've taken breaks. I don't know. Who cares? I'm just so happy to be back. And I'm really happy that I honored my own process and my own timing, which is something I'm really honing in on and I'm really valuing and I'm really developing, because it's so easy to feel like 50 steps behind life and everyone or whoever or whatever. So taking my time and honoring my process has been amazing and game-changing. I was reminded right before I went to record this episode of one of the gates I have in my human design. So in human design, which is one of the modalities I love working with, on your chart, there's all these numbers and some of them are colored in. And so the ones that are colored in are the gates that you have. So these are your traits that you possess that are they come naturally to you. So I have gate 52, which is also known as the gate of stillness. And it's really about, for me, taking my time and letting things take the time that they need to develop and not rushing my own process. I'm going to pull out Jenna Zoe's Human Design book, which is a really accessible, awesome book that I recommend. And she calls Gate 52 sitting still to get results. And one of the things she says to flex this gift is to only move when you feel moved to. And I really feel that in the context of this podcast. I was thinking okay, January, time to start recording. Okay, February, especially once I got back from my trip, time to start recording, blah, blah, blah. But it didn't really feel right until now. I'm recording this at the end of February, and I'm so glad I waited because I feel like the momentum builds in me and I actually have things to say and I'm actually excited about it. And it's a nice day astrologically too, because the sun in Pisces is linking up with Mercury. So we have a Mercury Cazimi, which is just really inspiring and a great day for communication. And Saturn is in there too, making things really stable. So yeah, it makes me even more excited to be back because I just feel ready. And I really feel like 2024 it's already shaping up to be a big year of evolution for me. And I really feel like I'm stepping into a new era of myself. Things are always changing, but it's also about how we adapt to the change, right? Sometimes we're not always able to be the next version of ourselves, and that's okay. But I am in a moment where I feel ready and I can feel and start to experience this kind of next level version of me. So with this new era that I'm stepping into, within this new level of stepping into my own power, which by the way is a name of a new offer that's definitely out by the time you're listening to this, more on that later. As I'm stepping into all that, things are definitely going to change in my business. Things have definitely changed in my life in terms of I just feel more fired up by what I'm doing. I feel like I have more energy for what I'm doing, which is key, because if you're moving through life without that much energy and enthusiasm, then your output might not be as impactful as you'd like it to be. But I think when that happens, that's an opportunity to sort of recalibrate. But anyway, we can't all be high energy all the time, and I'm not saying I am. But with this episode, I wanted to share a little bit about what's happened in the past couple months to me, what I've been going through, my little bit of traveling. And I also want to talk about 4 things I'm bringing with me in 2024. So these are 4 kind of realizations or deeper understandings that I've had end of 2023 into this year that I really want to focus on because I can see how they've been benefiting me so far. And I want to continue with them and move ahead. So the first one is your needs and desires matter and they aren't silly. So that's number 1. And this is related to the Christmas that I actually had that I experienced at the end of 2023, because I spent it here where I live just with my partner, not with the rest of my family, like not with my mom, sisters, other family members, like I have for basically every year of my life except 2020 when it was like super COVID lockdown times. And I came to the realization that I really love Christmas, and that no matter where I am or with who I'm with, I really want to celebrate it in like kind of a cheesy way. For example, I did decorate our living room a little bit, but I would have loved to go further with that. And I'm going to let myself go further with it in the future. So part of the reason why I stayed here is because I haven't spent the last 2 Christmases with my partner, husband, and I wanted to change it up and spend it with him. But he doesn't always have flexibility around Christmas, so he had to work through Christmas, which is fine. And I knew that going into it. But so he's used to like not really being so Christmassy and celebrating it. I'm not. And in the end, when it came to like Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, I was kind of bummed that we didn't really make proper Christmas plans. And for sure, what I'll do in the future is like, if I'm not with my family, like host or organize some kind of like dinner with people. I love the big Christmas dinner vibes where you like have the Christmas crackers and like say silly things and eat so much food till you're stuffed. I love that. We did end up going out for a really nice dinner on Christmas Eve, I think it was. And that really turned things around and put me in that more like cozy Christmas vibe. There was like, it was a really nice restaurant and they had like a fire going and everything. So that was helpful. But yeah, it just really made me realize, okay, I have these needs and desires. I'm not going to say they're silly. Like just because I'm not like 10 years old anymore doesn't mean I don't love Christmas and love to celebrate it in my own way. So I need to honor that. So I think, this is a message for everyone to honor your own needs and desires and don't just think that they're silly and they don't matter, because they do. So we will eventually be led into the second thing I'm bringing with me in 2024. I just want to talk a little bit about the traveling I did. So a few days after Christmas, my partner and I went to Athens, and then we went to northern Greece where his family lives. We went to a really cute town near Mount Olympus that we love. And we went up to Thessaloniki, which is Greece's second biggest city, basically. So that was a solid month, maybe even 5 or 6 weeks of travel, which can be a lot. But it was really nice to have some family time, to get to know his family better, to meet other relatives I hadn't met yet, and to have those bigger dinners and gatherings and things like that. So I did get a dose of that, just not on Christmas, which was lovely. And what I was a little worried about once the first few days of January were over, I needed to get back to work, especially on my part-time job. But I found an amazing cafe co-working space that was a 15-minute walk from my partner's parents' house, which was absolutely perfect. So I got into this routine of getting up, having breakfast, working out in the morning, going to the co-working space for a few hours, having solid alone work time, but in like a nice environment, and then coming back for lunch. And that just really worked for me and really eased me back into work schedule after taking some time off. And as much as I love working from home, it's the best, especially when I'm doing work with clients. It's just nice to be in a cozy environment. It was a little difficult at my partner's parents' place, not even because of all the people, but because there's not like a designated workspace. And that's very important to me. And I don't know, maybe some of you are very flexible and can work everywhere. I simply cannot. And that's what I've realized. So it was good to have a dedicated workspace. And I think also once in a while, especially because I have an open crown and an open ajna in human design, it's good for me to be in environments that are stimulating once in a while to like feel inspired again. And I felt that it really did that for me, which was super cool. yeah, it's good to switch things up a little bit. Even if you can't travel, to just go to a different cafe, go to different places, find new cool things in your neighborhood. We had a good time with his family. I was able to go to the movies, which is something I love that I can't do where we live because there's no movie theater. And then we went to this mountain town that we really fell in love with in the autumn of 2023 when we first went there together. And we were able to stay at an amazing hotel that was so cozy, and it had a sauna, and there was a fireplace right in the room and a bathtub, which I love. Like, I was just in absolutely heaven. It was like the perfect winter getaway. And this reminded me of another realization I've had. I would say this one is more in the past year, which is that there's nothing wrong with having high standards for yourself, for the people around you, for the things around you. I know sometimes like we have to be flexible. Things can't always be perfect, but I personally have just come to realize for myself that I like nice things, and I'm not and I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm not going to necessarily expect other people to provide that for me. Of course not. But I've realized that I want to have a life where I can do things and experience things and have things of high quality. And yeah, I'm just not going to apologize for that. I'm just going to, when I can, stay at nice places and do great things and experience great things. And I've really come to a place where I understand what's required of me to have those things. And I'm not expecting people to just give me that on a platter, you know? It's a really amazing thing especially when you're doing your own thing, like when you're an entrepreneur or doing things freelance, like really making it for yourself, is be in the process of seeing yourself make your dreams a reality and see yourself fully providing for yourself. Of course, if you have a full-time job, you're providing for yourself, but it's just a different vibe when it's more about you and how you show up. You know what I mean? Obviously, if you have a full-time job, you need to show up well, but at the same time, you're relying on the structure of a company to support you, right? And obviously, if you have your own thing and you're an entrepreneur or freelance or whatever, you still have structures that support you, but it's just a little different. You don't have as much of a safety net, in my opinion. Just really like leaning into that, just letting myself have nice things. I also find that for those of us who have scarcity mentality, which I would argue most people do, whether it's like cultural, familial, from childhood, whatever, meaning that it feels like there's not enough resources to go around, or it's hard to hold on to money or things like this. For those of us that experience that, it can be hard to let ourselves have nice things. Or maybe sometimes we've experienced, because we've been in scarcity, we like swing all the way to the other end of the pendulum and we just overspend and put ourselves in bad financial situations. Like, I can totally speak for myself on that. But I feel like I'm getting to this happy medium of living within my means for now, but still treating myself and still feeling like I have a luxurious life, because that's something that's really, really important to me, I have realized. And then what else do I want to talk about? Number 3 of the 4 things I'm bringing with me in 2024 is that you need to make space to flow and rest. So I have really, not drastically, but significantly changed the way I go about things in daily life. And for me, I think sometimes we neglect daily life and how important it is, but it's really the building blocks of everything. You know, we want to have a fantastic life. We want to have amazing experiences, but life is mostly daily life. Life is mostly getting up to work or taking care of kids or whatever, taking care of ourselves, you know? So within that, I have just been a person for so long, even since I was young, who's obsessed with optimizing and making my days amazing and honestly perfect. You know, that's where my perfectionism can show up, funnily enough. But what I've realized, and this kind of came to me as I was getting into this woman, Rachel, who goes by like Restoring Eve on Instagram. And she was speaking a lot about creating feminine space in your calendar, whatever gender you are, but like, especially if you're a woman. And it's really changed so much. So instead of jam packing my schedule with a billion things, I'm making more space in there, and I'm treating rest with a little more seriously. And I'm taking it seriously. I'm taking the rest, and I'm taking the flow and the joy and the fun a little more seriously than I have. And I'm making sure that that's part of my daily life. I am probably going to talk about this in like a whole entire podcast episode. Yeah, I have a podcast episode planned about cyclical living. So this has to do with, for sure, tuning into the lunar cycle, for example, because the lunar cycle has kind of 4 different phases that are really important to kind of calibrate yourself to, or can be really helpful to calibrate yourself to. And then if you're a woman who menstruates, your menstrual cycle is huge, and really aligning myself to that has made such a difference. And I'm experimenting with that even more deeply. But just instead of cramming my brain, cramming my schedule with extra stuff, I'm trying to make more space. So especially in the morning, I'm not listening to as many podcasts as I would in the morning. I try to save that for later in the day if I'm going to listen to one. I focus more on listening to music in the morning, meditating, maybe journaling. And even in the little bits of the day when I'm cooking, when I'm putting things away, whatever, instead of always having a podcast on or always having something or always having other stimulation, I'm trying to just focus on the one thing, which has been nice because I feel like my brain gets a moment to relax. And with that space, more creativity and cool things can come in, which is really great. So then the fourth thing I'm bringing with me in 2024 is focusing on what's right about you. That means instead of focusing on what's wrong with you, focusing on what's right with you. And this just came to me probably like beginning of this year, where I kind of got into like doing a bit of a weekly reflection practice, but keeping it really simple and just writing 3 things down that I'm proud of. Three things that I'm proud of. And it doesn't have to be business or career related. It can be, I'm proud that I ate healthy this week. I'm proud that I committed to exercising this week. I'm proud that I took care of myself, or that I was a good friend, whatever. And doing that has honestly changed everything, because I really used to be a person, and it creeps up from time to time, who just focuses on what's going wrong because I feel like I have to fix it, right? Which is very perfectionism-y of me, which is not a bad thing, because I think it's a natural human instinct to want to improve and get better, and we shouldn't not want to do that. But at the same time, it's not fun to only focus on what you think is wrong, because I think that is it's just creates some negative energy that we don't need. Like, there's always going to be not so great things happening in our life, and of course we need to process them accordingly. But in my brain, if I truly have the power in most moments to choose what to focus on, if I can choose to focus on things that I'm proud of, things that are going right, things that I have to be grateful for, rather than like the other stuff, honestly, it's created so much positive momentum that I feel like I'm really just noticing the things that are going right more. And that's just having this amazing ripple effect where it's like, oh my God, I'm so proud of myself for doing this thing. And I can keep going with it more easily. And then I can keep moving in the direction I want to move in. So highly recommend trying this out. You can do it on like a Sunday night or something like that. When you have a moment to yourself, just write 3 things you're proud of, whatever it is. And I found that I've come up with more than 3, which I was really shocked by, but that's pretty cool. We love that. So that's something I've been taking with me and keeping in mind. just to talk a little bit about, where the podcast is going and what I have planned and things like that. My intention is to create more shorter episodes and not thinking that I always have to speak for like an hour or whatever. It tends to be more of like an hour episode if it's with a guest, which is totally fine. But I want to do like these quicker, snappier solo episodes that are just easier for you to integrate in your day. And in terms of what I'm offering right now, a really nice way to stay in sync with the cosmos astrologically is to purchase my 2024 digital astrology calendar. I've had great feedback from it, and it was so fun to write and create. And so this is a calendar that just goes straight to your Google Calendar or iCal, and you basically have every important astrological event just like there with like a little description of it, and it's really great. And it's 20 euros and 24 cents. Other than that, in terms of ways to work with me, I'm continuing my relationship readings. I just came off of one that I did earlier today, and it was so crazy. The amount of information I can get about two individual people and then how the relationship is incredible. And it's really cool to see the shifts in people as they receive the information. And we talk about so many things like communication styles, how they might be different, how people need to give and receive love, how people might express themselves sexually, different woundings, right? To be aware of different sensitivities that people have. It's been so incredibly amazing. So you can book that via the link in the show notes, or you can always go to my website, lifeforcesinc.com. Everything is there. And then part of the shifts in my business that are going to happen this year is I want to offer more group experiences. I think I'm going to just start with masterclasses, but in addition to a 1 hour masterclass or whatever it is, where we're going to come together, I'm going to teach on something and then we're going to talk, because I think it's really great to connect to people who also might be spiritually inclined or working on themselves. I've met so many incredible people in those kind of contexts. So I want to do more stuff like that. And then also with pre-recorded resources that you can refer back to, such as meditations or other little tidbits of teachings that you can just keep with you, use over and over again, and really integrate into your life. And so the next thing I'm offering is a masterclass tentatively called, let's see what I call it in the end. But for now, it's something along the lines of stop people pleasing, step into your power. And we're going to have the live call on April 8th, which is a Monday, which is also the solar eclipse in Aries. And we're going with the themes of the eclipses this year, which are in Aries and Libra accordingly. And the vibe of these eclipses is very much about releasing things like people pleasing and codependency and those kind of things, and really stepping into your own individual power, your magic sauce of what makes you you, and not being afraid to do that, being confident in going for what you're being called to go for, whatever that is. And so the pre-sale for that is until the lunar eclipse in Libra, which is March 25th. So you definitely want to lock in the pre-sale pricing, because then it will be going up after. And I am really looking forward to seeing so many of you in the masterclass / Q&A. And I'm really curious to see how this format lands. I think it's going to be really cool, because part of what I do, especially when it's face-to-face stuff, I do get so much energy from it. But when it's only face-to-face, it can be a lot. And so I really like this idea of pre-recording different resources for you that you can just have forever. But then also having the face-to-face time with me, but being able to serve more of you, have a bit of a community thing going, and all that jazz. And yeah, finally, I have a new intimate, transformative one-on-one offer. So this is, as of now, the only one-on-one way to work with me, called Reclaim, Activate, Flow. You can DM me at Life Forces Inc. on Instagram to learn more, or I will have a link in the show notes to explain more about this, whether there's like an application form to see if we'd be a good fit to work together, or we do just a brief call to see if it's a good fit. But it's a new container that I'm introducing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some of you in there as well. And basically this came to me last year of how to synthesize everything I do into a container that's a little more structured and that we know we will get results from. And it has a lot to do with your energy. So reclaiming your energy, activating your energy, and then flowing with your energy. Because when you have all those things on lock, when you reclaim your energy, when you have better boundaries, when you are doing things in alignment with your values, when you regulate your nervous system and activate your energy in a way that feels good to you, then you have the power to do the things in alignment with your values and all of that great stuff. And from that, then you find your own unique flow in daily life, which spills into every area of life, your relationships, your career, friendships, all of that, finding your flow in that way. So that's what I want to help you with. The details about that are in a link in the show notes. That is all I have for you today. I'm so excited to get back into the swing of things. We're going to have episodes, of course, on astrology and relating that to your own life and the bigger picture of things. Of course, we're going to have my quarterly forecast. I think that's coming up next week. So you'll learn all about the astrology of Q2. And yeah, it's going to be a great season. I'm really looking forward to it. If you have any suggestions for guests you want me to speak to, if there's topics you want to learn more about, please send me a DM. And I also have a link for podcast questions you can ask me, because I'd love to do a Q&A episode in the coming weeks, months, whatever. So you can find that link in the show notes to ask me a question that I will answer on the podcast. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. As always, if you can rate and review the show, it helps so much. If you can share this with friends, family, whoever that you think will really benefit from it, it really helps the podcast grow. So much appreciated. Anyway, love you so much. Happy Aries season. Happy spring equinox. Let's get into it. See you.